Well, hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. This is News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Let's go. What are we, only a week in? Feels like we've been doing this for a year already. If they're going to hyperventilate, I should say, this much about a spending pause, it's not even like a spending cut. We're just like going to tap the brakes and like reevaluate some of this stuff already, comparisons to Hitler. This is going to be a fun 4 years. This is going to be absolutely adorable. And also, hey, we're deporting criminals, like violent criminals and rapists and murderers and thieves. And what do we get out in the streets here in Dallas and across our beautiful country? It was like the battle scene from Braveheart over by the Rose Hunt Bridge. Not that bad. Obviously, I'm exaggerating, but there's going to be more protests this weekend. But the deportations continue. Victor Avila's back on the James Show. He's a former ICE agent and with a little bit of background in such matters. How do you think it's going so far? Is this about on schedule with what you were expecting?
Yeah, it is. And, I think it's going to pick up even more here in the weeks to come. But I think it's going great. I'm not understanding the response from some of the people around the country because they had ample notice and they knew what was going to happen. They were told what was going to happen repeatedly, and then they're kind of surprised that it's happening. And this is the difference that you're going to see in the next 4 years is that they mean what they say and they say what they mean, meaning the Trump administration, and you're witnessing it right now. You're living it. And when it comes to like these protests, I'm not sure what they're protesting. Why are they so surprised that this is going to happen? They told you that was going to happen, and so there's a lot of confusion as to the process. I've been talking a lot to the media about what does deportation mean? Who are they going after? There's different categories of illegal aliens, and right now, as they're targeting the worst of the worst, I don't understand why any sanctuary city or town or state would oppose that. It makes absolutely no sense to me. As a matter of fact, they are still not giving access to ICE agents to the jails, which is where we want to have them get picked up because it's a controlled environment. It's a place where it's secure. But no, they're releasing them into the country, into the cities where they go into the houses, they go into the schools, they go into the churches, where they've been told those are no longer going to be sanctuary places. You're not going to be able to hide out in these places. Those restrictions no longer exist. And so then they're surprised and complaining that ICE went and picked up a criminal illegal alien at a school. We told you we were going to do that. Why not give us the access at the jails to avoid all that in the first place?
Yeah, and you look, an argument can be made on whether or not illegal immigrants are overall good for the society as a whole, bigger market, cheap labor force. But the ones in jail, I mean, we should all agree. We can at least, if we can't deport those, then you just don't want us to deport anybody.
That's right. I mean, and then you saw it just a few days ago. I mean, you're right. We're a weekend, and just the few days when it started, I saw a lot of the Democrats coming forward and say, "Okay, we're okay with this." Well, that's okay. Well, then what started happening is that other illegals started getting picked up, and that's another big difference. That Alejandro Mayorkas, the prior Secretary of Homeland Security, had said that being in the country illegally alone was not going to be enough to remove you. That is not true anymore. It never should have been true because it's against the law to begin with. So if you are hanging out with a criminal illegal alien or a prior deport or someone that is wanted by ICE, you're going to, even though you might not have the criminal history. That's the big difference. And when the police go out there, ICE and DEA and all these task forces that are being formed, they go and ask everyone in the room, everyone in the business. It's not like I heard this case up in New Jersey that, they question a U.S. veteran, and who cares? That's what the police does. They question everybody. I as a prior agent, would question everybody and what they call conduct alienage on the individuals present. I need to know who's here legally and who's not. And questioning people is not illegal. If you're a U.S. citizen, if you're a lawful permanent resident of this country, you have absolutely nothing to worry about. You're going to be okay. but people are blowing it so much out of proportion that an ICE agent actually had a conversation with a U.S. citizen. It's not against the law.
Victor, you just gave us our word of the day, alienage. Alienage. That's new to the James Show lexicon, but I like that. It makes sense. You have to check their alienage, whether or not they're aliens. When you say, because you said you expect the pace to pick up, Tom Homan has said that. What does that look like? Do you have the manpower in ICE to do that now, or are we going to have to grow ICE and start recruiting new people to pull this off?
I think a little bit of all the above. You're going to see more officers and agents be hired in the process. That obviously takes time. I think you're going to see a lot of rehired annuitants, like ex-federal employees, agents, Border Patrol agents that have already done this for all the time. There's no time to train them on how to process illegal aliens. They know how to do it. So you are going to see a lot of that. Plus, these task forces that are being built around the country, there's a lot of personnel in them. We're talking about, you saw DEA and FBI, U.S. Marshals, state officials, the ones that are participating, are going to be part of these task forces helping out. And that's going to increase a lot of personnel. A lot of these federal agents are going to deputize other people. And I'm not talking about private citizens, but deputizing police departments and sheriff's deputies to go out with them.
All right, one more question here, Victor Avila. When we see these protests where people are flying the flags of other countries just blocks away from where I'm broadcasting right now, a lot of people make the joke, why didn't ICE just swing by and start checking cards and picking people up? But jokes aside, why don't they do that? Why don't they just show, hey, y'all are all going to gather in one place. Let me see your papers.
I'm telling you, don't be surprised if that actually happens. You see, the focus right now is not that. And those people protesting, let me tell you, I saw it in my 20-year career, people dying to come into this country. All they want to do is come into the United States. And as soon as they do, the first thing is, I want to go back to my home country. Well, you can't have it both ways. Which one do you want? Are you going to be a United States citizen and acclimate and assimilate to our Constitution, to our culture, to our way of living, or not? And these people are flying their home country's flag really upsets me. But don't be surprised if in the future you will see ICE officials arrive at these type of gatherings. Well, let's see who you actually are. If you have are you actually here legally or not?
Ooh, that would be so fun.
If you have no
look, I thought maybe you would say, as a retired ICE agent, like, we have a rule against that because it would be akin to inciting a riot, or y'all had some sort of policy against it.
No, it just requires a tremendous amount of manpower, and as you can imagine, and an operational. You have to, as an agency, as an agent, you really have to look at all that public safety and all that. That's why they have tried to avoid that. And it's not that we're not allowing them to protest. We know we have the right to do that here, but it's what they're saying that it makes absolutely no sense. You have an illegal alien. Let's say it is an illegal alien protesting what? You're protesting that you're here illegally? And then why they're not allowing you to stay here? Well, then take it up with Joseph Biden, because he's the one that opened the door to allow you in. It's his fault. If you want to blame anybody, blame the Biden administration for dangling that carrot in front of you and lying to you and making you come into this country illegally and finding yourself the CBP One app, the parole, all that is illegal. You're here with absolutely no status anymore. That's who you should take it up with, the Democrat representative that supports that. And so if we happen to determine some alienage down there and maybe have some undercover agents and HSI agents, maybe we'll pick up some people. But they need to know that they're not the same as a U.S. citizen in this country because they're undocumented.
Yep. Victor, we got to run. I appreciate your help on that. And remember, if you do see an ICE raid at a legal deportation protest, you heard it from Victor first. Your thoughts, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Should they really start pulling up paddy wagons to these protests? Like there's one this weekend. Should they just show up? I think so. Or is that a bad idea because it might incite a riot or pick on the wrong people? 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Yay, let's go. Well, my next guest is an immigration attorney here in Texas. Kate Lincoln Goldfinch is back on the James Show. Kate, welcome back. We now have deportations happening across Texas. I think 80 were rounded up over the weekend here in the Dallas area, but also some protests. Now, if you are advising an immigrant, legal or illegal, would you caution them against going to protest and public rallies like this, or is this completely safe?
Well, that's safe, and I think, ICE may start going to the places where immigrants are known to gather, and a rally might be something like that. The secure locations memo was revoked, meaning that schools and churches and hospitals and shelters are all not considered safe locations anymore. And so I think the key thing for any immigrant, particularly an undocumented immigrant, is to really consider each action in their lives and how risky it is and whether it's worth it. So somebody may decide that it's worth it to them to go to a rally because it's that important. It's a personal decision, but I was at a rally on Sunday, and I don't have immigration concerns about myself, and it felt a little scary to look around in the crowd and see who was there. There weren't any counter protesters, but that's always possible.
Okay. So there's one happening at Dallas City Hall this Sunday at 2 p.m. And I don't know. I've thought you would say just stay off the radar. It's not worth it. But you actually have a little bit of gray area in there, Kate.
Well, people are living their own lives and making their own decisions. And some people might just feel so upset about what's happening that they really have to go be out there amongst like-minded people and have some community. There's something uplifting about being in a rally with people who are as incensed as you are about something. But it's always a, decision for a person to make. An example is right now, I'm telling people that the domestic airports are a lot less secure than they used to be for immigrants because we're seeing a lot of ICE activity and TSA requesting visas, et cetera, in domestic airport flights. And so, someone might decide that it's worth it to take that risk to visit a dying relative, but probably wouldn't want to do that to go to Disney World,
Yeah, maybe I'm just not the rally type. I've never protested or rallied for anything. Even if when the Mavericks win the Super Bowl, I don't even go to that parade. Or Mavericks win the Super Bowl when they win the NBA championship. I'm just not a rally guy.
I'm a rally girl, so I understand people wanting to go.
Fun stuff. All right, so what's coming next with the deportations? They say they're just going to stick with criminals, but they're going to run out of them at some point. What do you think happens after that?
Well, that's not what's been happening. A lot of people have been caught up in collateral arrest. They're definitely detaining people who don't have criminal histories.
They're just adjacent to the people when the raid happens, yeah.
Yeah, and I had a client pulled over with his U.S. citizen wife and kids in the back seat. He's undocumented, and the plates were from another state, so he got pulled over. He had no criminal history, and ICE came and took him. So definitely it's not just the criminals who are being caught up. But there is a lot happening. Just today, the Lakin Riley Act was signed.
My next question, yeah.
Yeah, and he is announcing an executive order to open up a 30,000-person camp in Guantanamo Bay. So it's fast and furious right now.
Well, look, I think the Guantanamo Bay sounds funny in a headline, but I imagine that's going to just get lawsuits thrown all over it. Is there any precedence for using Guantanamo for illegal immigrants?
For immigration, no, not that I know of. Of course, we all know what it has been used for. In my experience, immigration often does detain people in remote and rural locations that are hard to get to for advocates. I remember working on a lawsuit many years ago where there was some information that came out in discovery and an email between DHS officials saying, let's not put the detention center there. It's awfully close to this big city, and there's a lot of lawyers there. And so I think one thing about Guantanamo is it would be really hard for someone like me to get to help my clients there. Hopefully this would be blocked through litigation. But, I think what they're doing right now is trying to just flood so many policies out all at once that the impact litigators and the ACLUs and all of that, they're scrambling just to stop birthright citizenship and federal funding and everything else right now.
So what's your take? I haven't talked to you since the Colombia president sort of standoff went down. How does that look from the point of view of an immigration attorney?
You know, when I first saw the refusal to accept a flight, I mean, in principle, I think it's nice to see that, you know, other countries might not be sort of acquiescing to these actions. But I think that the response of the administration, if they've got a bunch of detainees who are set to be deported and they are not getting their travel papers, typically the response is to just keep that person in detention. And it's really, really hard on people. You know, I've worked with people who are stateless or from places like Somalia, and they can't get travel permission to be deported. And the result is that they stay just waiting for months and months and months until they can file a federal lawsuit. So for these actual Colombian people, it's not ultimately better for them. I'm sure they would rather be on a plane and be in their home country than be stuck in detention for another 6 months.
Are you going to another rally this weekend?
I don't know if any of it. Oh, I am. Yes, I am. That one's already on the calendar.
Yeah, we have like 4 of them happening within like a 20-mile radius of the station. So that seems to be the cool thing. You know, that's the hot thing the kids are doing this winter. Just let's do some rallies every once in a while. Kate Lincoln Goldfinch, thank you very much for your immigration expertise on the James Show. Where do they find you outside of WBAP?
You can look me up on my last name, Lincoln, like the president, Goldfinch, like the bird. I'm all over all the socials and the internet.
Thank you very much. Good to talk to you again, Kate. Don't get arrested. All right, coming up next on the James Show, well, I got a good call that's waiting on. Terry, we'll talk to you first. And after I talk to Terry, you're going to hear RFK in his hearing today questioning the idea of putting Ozempic on Medicare and Medicaid. You'll like what you hear next. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. I am your host, James Parker. Thank you very much to Shaw's Patio last night. They were the host of the first annual birthday bash for the James Show on WBAP and listener meet and greet. Fantastic little place. You know, I hadn't really hung out in New Orleans in a long time. I mean, New Orleans, in Fort Worth for a long time. I lived here. I know. Well, look, I grew up about 90 miles east of here, about an hour and a half that way. And so I was always like around the area. And then when I lived here, I hung out in Fort Worth quite a bit. And then I left town for about 15 years. And I haven't really hung out there since I've been back. I moved back to Texas in 2021. And so, like, when we did the toy giveaway, we had the toy drive for Christmas, and we gave away all these toys at Nash Elementary. That was a terrible neighborhood when I left. It was like the Emilio Estevez movie Judgment Night. Did you see that with Cuba Gooding Jr. and Dennis Leary? And that's what that neighborhood was. When I came back to give away presents, or just be there when the giveaway happened, I was almost thinking, should we be giving these kids presents? Shouldn't these kids be giving presents to someone else? This is like a nice neighborhood. These are some opulent condominiums all around this historic school. This is a really nice neighborhood. Same thing for Magnolia. I'd never hung out at Magnolia before. I mean, I've driven past it in years past, and I don't remember it being a nice strip. I didn't remember it being all fixed up and remodeled and clean, and beautiful lights were strung up everywhere. It looked like Pleasantville down there. And then Shaw's Patio was great. Number one, because people who own the joints listen, so that makes them awesome. But also, I got to eat a bison, and maybe you don't know, I love to eat new animals. Now, I've eaten a bison before, but it's been a while, and anytime I can get a different animal, I jump on it. Because I've gotten to eat a lot. I've gotten to eat a snake and an ostrich and rabbits. I'm trying to go through, and when I look back at my short little span on this earth, I want to be able to say I ate as many animals as I possibly could. So it was nice to eat a bison last night. I didn't eat the whole thing. It was just one patty of a burger, but it was still bison. That was pretty cool. Now, I've done that. I've done a meetup in Dallas or Richardson. I did a meetup in Fort Worth. Where's the next one? I don't know. You tell me. What's the next bar or venue or restaurant or whatever that can host an event that listens to the James Show? You tell me. 800-288-9227 if you want to call in. But most people find me on Facebook, or WBAP app is good, or James at WBAP.com. All right, so we had Carolyn Levitt, the new White House spokeswoman, have her first press conference yesterday. Now, it happened about 1 o'clock our time, so I got it all recorded, and it lasted a little over 40 minutes. So I only had about 15 minutes to chop it up and edit it down and gather my thoughts before the show yesterday. But I didn't realize how lockstep the media got almost immediately. There's a memo that came out in less than 24 hours. They all show up at the press conference, and the people who are on Team Blue all asked pretty much the same question. They were asking, oh my goodness, how bad are benefits going to be cut for poor Americans? How many benefits? How much benefits? How many people are going to be made homeless and have their lives destroyed by this? And she just kept saying over and over and over, that's not what's happening here. And she got asked 6 times the same damn question. And I made a montage of it for you, just to let you know how frustrating her job's going to be for the next 4 years. Oh, she's going to pull her hair out.
Assistance from the federal government, you will still continue to receive that. Again, people who are receiving individual assistance.
Yeah, I put a little dinger between each question, so you know when a new question was asked 6 times.
This is not a blanket pause on federal assistance and grant programs from the Trump administration. Individual assistance, that includes, I'm not naming everything that's included, but just to give you a few examples, Social Security benefits, Medicare benefits, food stamps, welfare benefits, assistance that is going directly to individuals will not be impacted by this pause. And I want to make that very clear to any Americans who are watching at home who may be a little bit confused about some of the media reporting. This administration, if you are receiving individual assistance from the federal government, you will still continue to receive that. Again, people who are receiving individual assistance, you will continue to receive that. Again, not for individual assistance, but for all of these other programs that I mentioned.
This is the 4th time.
Again, it does not affect individual assistance that's going to Americans.
Here's the 5th time.
What is the president's message to Americans out there, many of whom supported him and voted for him, who are concerned that this is going to impact them directly, even if, as you said, the funding isn't coming directly to their wallet?
I have now been asked and answered this question 4 times. To individuals at home who receive direct assistance from the federal government, you will not be impacted by this federal freeze. Direct assistance that is in the hands of the American people will not be impacted.
Okay, is anyone confused on what the answer to that question is? Because the judge paused it. There was lawsuits that were filed. The headlines all say, confusion surrounds Trump funding pause. It's like, no, there is. She answered the question 6 damn times. And then today, local Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, she put on a video out saying your benefits are going to be cut after all this.
So who knows what all they are trying to go after? It does seem as if SNAP benefits will be on the cutting block. And again, you can go back and watch video footage of me talking about the fact that rural America uses more SNAP benefits than urban America, but urban America seems to get it.
All right. That's your takeaway? She said it 6 times and you're still coming out. Look out, your benefits are going to be cut. Man, there's so much confusion around this. Are you confused? 800-288-9227. I don't think you are. 800-288-9227. No questions about the drones. No questions about Colombia. No questions about all the DEI people getting laid off. No questions about the wars. We're literally in a shooting war with Russia. No questions about that. Just 18 questions about if someone's going to miss a food stamp. Oh, my God. Coming up next, Jeremy Rosenthal from TexasDefenseFirm.com is coming on. Talk about the legal issues of the day. And also, he was at the James Show meet and greet last night. So we'll probably ask him about that, too. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. If you want to be a part of the show, 800-288-9227. I'm not really going to ask you any direct questions. I'm just, if you feel like jumping in, feel free, because a lot of questions are about to happen from my next guest, Jeremy Rosenthal from TexasDefenseFirm.com. First off, thank you very much for coming all the way down from McKinney to Magnolia Street in Fort Worth for last night's James Show meet and greet. Thank you, Jeremy.
Man, for you, James, anything. That was a big thing for me. And you know what? It was worth it to celebrate your first year. Congratulations on a dominant year.
I'm not quite in first place yet. And I still have my job, though, so we can celebrate that. Jeremy, there was like a few things that we had talked about last night that I'm like, we should talk about this on the show tomorrow. And then like 7 things have happened since then.
Right.
First, do you have any insight on Trump withdrew the spending pause because of a bunch of lawsuits? How was that so effective, and why didn't he see that coming?
I don't know. I'm kind of surprised that he withdrew it, honestly. That executive order was sort of doomed from the get-go. The issue is that Congress has already funded a lot of those things. And an executive order, I mean, executive orders have had a long history in our country, but they're primarily administrative in nature. I direct the federal government to do this or to do that or to do this or to do that. They obviously can't violate the Constitution, and they obviously can't undermine a law or a statute or something that Congress does. Congress has the purse strings. The courts blocked it, and maybe I don't know why the Trump administration withdrew it. That was a little surprising, but it wasn't going anywhere.
Well, I also enjoy the total about face and constitutional originalists that popped up here when they were all supportive of Joe Biden erasing student debt with a stroke of a pen.
Really, I mean, look, you've got the role of the executive order has been doing nothing but increasing. Now, we always have to remember, too, the Emancipation Proclamation is probably the most famous executive order. And the executive doesn't know if it's going to work unless or until it stands up, right? So when you're talking about student loan things and that got stuck in the mud, and there's only so much the executive can do in this country unilaterally. We're a system of checks and balances, and we've seen a lot of things of substance within these last week or so. We've seen a lot of symbolic things. We've seen things that we can make T-shirts out of, like the Gulf of America.
Okay, so the next thing I wanted to ask you about happened since we talked last night. This morning, we heard from the Minneapolis mayor. He said that the city will not cooperate with Trump's deportation policy. We heard Homan say in interviews last month that if you don't cooperate, there's going to be some mayors that can get themselves arrested if they stand in the way. What's going to happen here? It sounds like we have our first little standoff.
Yeah, I hadn't seen this morning, but I will say this: the topic of so let's talk about what is and is not a sanctuary city, because I think there's a lot of confusion, or a sanctuary state. Oregon has declared themselves a sanctuary state. That's not a made-up term. That's their own word.
Their whole damn state.
What it means is they are aggressively not going to cooperate with that. They're going to do the minimum or zero in far as cooperation with the federal government. They're basically saying, the feds, you guys are doing this. It's your deal, not ours. If there is a law that orders them to do it, they'll comply with it. So they're not breaking the law. They're just not going to go out of their way to assist the federal authorities. Legally, I don't know that they have to. Where this gets weird, or where this gets interesting, or where people start going to jail, like we're talking elected officials, is if they are in violation of some type of statute or law that requires or compels them to assist with this. I don't know from an immigration standpoint what laws there are that affirmatively compel a state to do X, Y, or Z. Could the federal government, for instance, order Texas to give the federal government a list of everybody that gets arrested so they can cross-check it with ICE? Texas may do that as a matter of course or as a matter of courtesy, but I don't know that there is a legal requirement there. Like
you couldn't force them to do if they don't want to. I get that.
Right.
Okay, well, tell me something else that happened since we talked last night. I saw that Trump says, we've already got over 1,000 illegals in custody. He said he's going to send 30,000 criminal illegal immigrants to Guantanamo Bay. Have you had a chance to look at this yet?
I have not, but I mean, I don't know if that place can house that many people. Administratively, that's a challenge. I think that a lot of what I've heard and a lot of what I've seen are, look, I mean, he feels like, hey, I got elected to take care of this, and he has been nothing if not aggressive about the whole thing. A lot of these things come down to infrastructure, right? Can you feed even if you could legally put 30,000 people in Guantanamo, can you feed them? Can you house them? Can you do these types of things? I think that is as much, if not a larger question than the legality of it all.
Another question here that pops up. So much happened in the news just since we talked last night. Trump signed the Laken Riley Act, his first legislative victory in his new administration. Is this going to change much? Usually I kind of roll my eyes on federal law that kind of stands on top of existing state law. Like, what good does that do to make something illegaler? But do you think this will make a decent change?
It's symbolic, and it's the first thing that we've seen that's not just one of these sort of executive orders that are these sort of Zeus lightning bolts, right? This is Congress, right? And this tells you that this had broader support. For that reason, they're always going to be more vanilla. We sort of know that, and a lot of times it's grandstanding, right?
Yep.
We're gonna, and in Texas, our legislature's meeting in Austin right now, and they are adjusting some law that says if you are on probation for a seventh time for this type of crime, you got to do 30 hours of community service instead of 24. Ladies and gentlemen of my district, look how tough I am on crime. There's a lot of that happens.
One more thing. We only got like a minute left. We talked about last night just how incredibly dumb people can still end up getting on juries. Not everyone that does a jury is dumb. I'm just saying every once in a while you get like a really low IQ person. There was an interview where Reese Witherspoon said when she had jury duty, some of the people in the jury insisted on making her the foreman because they thought she went to law school. They had saw Legally Blonde,
Okay.
and they just couldn't separate out that she was a different person. I thought that's exactly what I talked with Jeremy about last night.
That's exactly. You know what? Listen, jurors are going to be jurors, and it never ceases to amaze me the things that go on. And look, we take for granted as a lawyer. As a lawyer, I sort of feel like, well, I've been working this case for 2 years, so you should know everything about it too. And a lot of times, the jurors are questioned as like, wait a second, who's the plaintiff again? So it just is more. It just underscores that everybody just needs to get along. The courthouse is not where you want to settle a dispute. Talk to your friends, love thy neighbor, pay thy lawyer.
Yeah, and if your spouse cheats on you, just break up with them. You don't have to hit them with a car. You don't have to hit them with a ceramic plate. And if you do get in trouble, TexasDefenseFirm.com.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Talk to you,
Jeremy Rosenthal on the James Show again. All right, coming up next, you'll get your Hitler comparison of the week. Pausing spending temporarily now gets you compared to Hitler? You think I'm making it up? You think I'm hyperbole? I'll show you a couple of examples. And, man, this is going to be a fun 4 years, isn't it? Of spending pause makes you Hitler. This is going to be great. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. If you want to jump in on the conversation, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Well, I'm going to show you a couple examples here of just buckle up. The next 4 years are going to be, I think you're expecting what we saw from the first 4 years of Trump 1.0, and you remember how hysterical, how histrionic, just hissy fits all across cable news, all day, every day, all across your social media feed. It was Hitler all over the place, maybe a little apartheid and Nazi and white supremacists and Klansmen and all. It just everything just as ridiculous as it could have possibly been. That was Trump 1.0. I'm telling you, this is about to be worse. It's a stretch when they make Hitler comparisons in any capacity. I mean, nobody is as bad as Hitler. No one, no Democrat, no Republican, no one in American history is as bad as Hitler. Okay, so it's just a ridiculous comparison to throw out to begin with. However, we've gone through line by line the Nazis' economic policy, and it is virtually indistinguishable from the AOC economic wish list. You know, the free daycare for the kids, government-run daycare, government-run schools with no religion. Religion was taken out of all the public schools, all the programs for housing and food and all the social programs. The gun control was a big part of it. You know, we've gone through the list here, but I don't understand how a spending pause could be considered Nazi or racist or white supremacist, especially after I've just played you in the first segment Carolyn Levitt answering the question 6 different times. No, benefits are not going to be cut off for individuals. We're not cutting off SNAP, food stamps. We're not cutting off housing. We're not cutting off Medicare. We're not cutting off anything that goes directly to the citizen there. Still, people are coming away with, well, it looks like your benefits are going to be cut. Here's Jasmine Crockett, local congresswoman.
So who knows what all they are trying to go after? It does seem as if SNAP benefits will be on the cutting block. And
No. I had Carolyn Levitt say it 6 different times. Do I have to play it again? I'll play it again. I mean, she answered the question 6 different times. So maybe I should just real quick.
This is not a blanket pause on federal assistance and grant programs from the Trump administration. Individual assistance, that includes, I'm not naming everything that's included, but just to give you a few examples, Social Security benefits, Medicare benefits, food stamps, welfare benefits, assistance that is going directly to individuals.
All right, now just multiply that 5 more times. Actually, she said it twice the first time. So yeah, 6 more times. And so that kind of crystal clear on it's not going to be cut. But here we go. It can't just be like, oh, your benefits are going to be cut or I disagree with this spending policy. It's always got to go to racism or Nazism or just escalate it again. Here's Jasmine Crockett, her opening in the video this morning.
New hair, as you can see. I am headed in for my
By the way, her hair did look nice. She said new hair, as you may see. She looked great.
And I am late, but I absolutely promised that I was going to go live so that I could talk about this bullshit that's popping off.
Easy.
So, in short,
I got it, Garrett.
As I attempted to say over and over and over in the campaign, this is a white supremacy agenda that was laid out in Project 2025.
Oh, Project 2025 and white supremacy in the same, and pausing funding, pausing spending, white supremacy. Project 2025. I get it. We're racist. We're evil. I mean, if everything we do, is it going to be compared to racism or white supremacy or Hitler or whatever? I don't know. That's Joy Reid on MSNBC. Still has a show.
80 years ago today, Stalin's Red Army walked through the gates of Auschwitz and uncovered the true inhumanity and evil of the Nazi regime.
Let me guess. It's just
Millions
like
of
Trump.
men, women, and children murdered. Thousands more starved, beaten, humiliated, and robbed of their dignity. The extermination of Jewish people, Poles, Roma, Soviet prisoners of war, gay people, and others was no secret. It happened in broad daylight. But how did Hitler do it? Well, with the support of millions of ordinary Germans who just wanted Germany to be great again. And business leaders who initially thought they could control him. Plus a cadre of devout political allies willing to do whatever he said for the sake of power. A new piece by The Atlantic lays out.
I don't even want to hear it. There you go. You're Nazis already. Nazis already. Just for a spending pause. Not even a cut. A pause. I mean, do they really believe that? Do you think Joy Reid really thinks Trump is like Hitler? Do you think Jasmine Crockett really thinks we're all white supremacists? Anyone wearing a MAGA hat must be a white supremacist? Or did they just say that because it helps them calcify them in their positions of power, whether it's in the media or in Congress? I really, and I don't ask this rhetorically, I really don't know the answer to that. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Her hair really did look nice, though. She looked great today. Jason Aldean is coming to Dos Equis Pavilion August 14th. This is Full Throttle Tour 2025. Nate Smith, Raylan, and DJ Silver will be with him. For tickets information, go to livenation.com. But it's one of the giveaways we have going on. The same phone number that you can use to call into the James Show. You can also text Jason to 800-288-9227 to get a chance to be in our contest to win a pair of tickets. So, Jason Aldean fans, text the word Jason to 800-288-9227. Coming up next, we'll talk about school choice here in Texas. Is it going to happen, and is it going to be the right kind of school choice? I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.